Today we're going to work on lesson 116. This is on page 598 in your book. We're going to talk about some common denominators today and finding common denominators so that we can add, subtract, and compare fractions. Now you know that a denominator is the bottom number in a fraction. So if we have two fractions and they have the same denominator, that is considered a common denominator. So 1/4 and 3/4 do have a common denominator. If we look at these fractions, 1/2 and 1/4, they do not have a common denominator because 4 is different from 2. What we have to understand is that when we want to add or subtract fractions, we have to have a common denominator. So if we have different denominators like we do in 1/2 and 1/4, we're going to have to change the name of one of those fractions or maybe change the name of both fractions so that they do have common denominators. Now those common denominators are going to be the least common multiple of the two denominators. So we're going to see how to put all of that together. So the first example we're going to look at is we're going to take 1/2 and we're going to add it to 1/4. Now, in order to add these, I have to have a common denominator. I do not. 2 and 4 are different. So I need to make common denominators. How do I do that? I need to find the least common multiple of 2 and 4. So I'm just going to go over to the side and let's find our least common multiple of 2 and 4. So I'll list my multiples: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And let's list some for 4, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20. What is my least common multiple? It is 4. That means that both of these fractions need to have a denominator of 4. Luckily, this guy already does, so he gets to stay the same. He's going to be 1/4. But I need to change this fraction so that it has a denominator of 4. So what did I do to my 2 to get it to a 4? Multiplied by 2. What did I do? What do I need to do to my 1 then? I have to do the same thing, multiply by 2. So 1 times 2 is 2. Now I have two fractions that have the same denominator, and I can go ahead and add those fractions. So 2/4 plus 1/4 equals 3/4. And there's my answer. Let's look at another one. Here's a subtraction problem. 3 1/2 minus 1 1/6. Now the whole number part, that's going to be done separately. First I'm going to do my fraction part. So 1/2 minus 1/6. Well, I see that I do not have common denominators, so I need to change those so that I do have common denominators. So we'll take our denominators 2 and 6. And let's find the least common multiple. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Let's list some multiples of 6, 6, 12, 18. You know what? I already see the least common multiple, and that's a 6, so I don't even have to keep listing numbers here. That means that I need both of my denominators to be 6. So if I go back over here, oh, look at that. I already have one that's 6. So I'm just going to rewrite this number, 1 1/6. Okay. I know it's going to be 3 because that's my whole number, but I have to change my fraction so that it has a denominator of 6. So what did I do to the 2 to get it to a 6? I multiplied by 3. So I must also multiply by 3 with the numerator. So 1 times 3 is 3. Now I can do subtraction because I have a common denominator. So let's do fraction to fraction, and we're subtracting. So 3/6 minus 1/6 is 2/6. And then our whole numbers, 3 minus 1 is 2. I'm going to bet that you already saw this fraction and said, that's not reduced. Yep, we need to reduce it. So 2/6 I can reduce to 1/3. So my answer is going to be 2 and 1/3. So make sure you do check those fractions and see if they can be reduced. Okay, one more problem for this lesson, and that is we're going to compare. We're going to compare two fractions, 3/4 and 7/8. In order to make the comparison, though, I have to have common denominators. So I'm going to take my denominators 4 and 8. Let's find our least common multiple. So 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 8, 16. Look at that. I already found one. There is my least common